Hey, all you Splinterheads. Welcome back. Bronze Dragon here, saying thanks for dropping by. Okay, a couple days ago, I released a video that was very comprehensive and pretty long, like bordering 40 minutes long, about the recent announcements that Matt dropped on this previous Monday about the rebellion and everything that went into that. So, and I've been watching different videos from different YouTubers related to Splinterlands and the rebellion, and I think everybody's done a pretty good job about covering every different little detail and kind of going into the numbers and things like that. So what I wanted to go over was this idea that's been kicking around in my head because I've been a long time card player. And I've talked about this in the past, but in the 90s I got into Magic the Gathering, and it's just been kind of one after another, and I've never really gotten back to, that the heyday of Magic. Because one of the things that attracted to me to Splinterlands in the first place was the fact that it was on the blockchain and it's much easier to buy, sell, and trade goods. Okay, because one of the biggest things that really was a bad thing about physical TCGs, also, even though I still love them, is the fact that it's hard to trade, or it's hard to sell. It's hard to trade and sell at this point in time. Okay, yes, if you have a thriving store which you can go to, it's a little bit easier to buy, sell, and trade with various people. But on the whole, it's much easier on the blockchain. Okay, with that said, what's been swirling in my mind lately as we've been discussing the changes coming with Rebellion. And I'm here on the Rebellion page, and I'll leave the link once again in the show notes. But where I want to focus in on is not really the new abilities, but the multi-element summoners and the summoner tactics. And I want to talk about that for a minute, because in the back of my mind, the last live stream I had, which was on Saturday, we kind of discussed this in a couple videos back and forth in the comments. We've been discussing this with people that are commenting. My idea that these new, the new multi-element summoners and the tactics, and progressing forward into Land 2.0 items and spells really remind me of things that I saw in Magic the Gathering. And what that tells me is the gameplay in Splinterlands is progressing, and it's going to progress past this standard auto battler type format. Okay, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult. It's going to add more strategy. It's also going to add a lot more things to buy, sell, and trade, right? Let's be honest here. You're going to have items, you're going to have spells in the future. Remains to be seen, because, obviously they haven't even worked on that. Well, he says, no hard details have been released other than the idea of it coming forward, right? So, but the fact remains that those items, the items and the spells, along with the dual element summoners and choosing the abilities and having the ability to have the bonuses occur on you or a debuff occur on the opponent, really reminds me of things in Magic the Gathering. And it's not exclusive to Magic the Gathering. It's just Magic was one of the first card games out there with these ideas. Okay, so let's dive in a little bit. Okay, so the dual element summoners compared to Magic really remind me of dual lands. Okay, so in Magic, instead of picking a splinter by picking your summoner, you pick your color of mana and you use the land appropriate for that mana. Okay, so, and the colors are very similar to what Splinterlands has. So in Magic, you would lay down a dual land, which is very rare at this point, but back in the day, you'd have a dual land, and say, for instance, it was a swamp and a mountain. That would produce red and black mana, or like in Splinterlands, fire and death summoner. Okay, so that would choose the mana that you could use in the monsters and spells. Okay, so that's what that reminds me of. Now, going forward, the ability choices on the summoners represent another stage in how you go through the match, right, and what you pick. Okay, so, and we'll get into that in a minute because I have a slide build up for that. But that reminds me of playing either a sorcery, an instant in Magic, or in some cases, they have lands that have special abilities. Okay, so this all plays together with this idea. And in my mind, it's going through, and this is kind of hitting on the topic of it's the maturation of the game. It's the way that obviously Matt has kind of seen this in his mind for some time. And it's just kind of things have fell in place. I'm sure he had loose ideas at the beginning, and it's just kind of starting to take shape. But I'm kind of excited at the fact that I think the game, and I'm going to go out there and say this, I think the game is moving away from bots. Obviously, we've got them out of Modern. Before that, very early in the game, they were very pro-bot, okay? But we saw the problems that led to, right? So we're getting away from them, and I'm not going to be, I'm not going to have my head in the sand and say, oh, this is going to completely do away with them. But as we make the game more complicated to play, or as we add levels of strategy, or as the team that's making, I'm not part of the team, but as the team adds more levels of strategy, the bots that play this game will have to become increasingly more complicated, right? And at a certain point, the levels are going to kind of exceed what a bot can do, and or the bots are. I don't want to say that we're going to see bots completely go away, but I can see that this game is going to become increasingly more layers of skill and more layers of human interaction needed to play. Now, does this mean that, like I said, the bots are going to completely go away? No, but it will force the people who program the bots, such as Archmage, I use Archmage, but to work on their bot and make it increasingly more complicated or more smarter, or how much, increase the level, however it works, okay? So not even going to pretend that I know how to program a bot. But I do like the way this is going because I can foresee more people wanting to actually play. And I think we've seen that in the recent past with all the changes, more people choosing to play in Modern. And I've always said this. I only started using the bot because they said there would always be bots allowed. So I said, why, if you can't beat them, why join? Join them if you can't beat them, right? However that saying goes. So those are my thoughts. Now, what I wanted to go ahead and get into as my main point here was, this is a simple slide that I made up, okay? So as we can see, this is kind of my guess of how the hand selection will go and how it might go in the future, because this is a demonstration of what I'm talking about. So currently, you select your summoner, you select your hand, and then the game's played out, right? Well, as we're moving forward into Rebellion, there will be another step added. The hands will be revealed. And then the next step will be Summoner Tactics selection, if you choose to use one of the new summoners with most likely dual Splinter and Summoner's Tactics on it. And he said that it's not necessarily all of them are going to have that, but a lot of them will. So, and at that point, you have the decision between two different tactics you can use. And more than likely, one of the tactics will benefit your team, and one of the tactics will be a detriment to the other team. Now, that's not across the board, but those were the examples he gave, right? And you can select which to use at that point after you take in what your opponent is fielding. Okay. Now, going forward in the future, which I mentioned, when we can create items and spells, I foresee another level coming in, another step coming in before the hand is actually played. And could all this occur at the same time? Summoner Tactics selection, items, and spell selection all at the same time? Could be. Could they all be 3 separate steps? Could be as well. Depends upon how they come about. Now, the items that are coming about in my reference to Magic the Gathering, it seems like very much like artifacts would be items that you can put down, and who knows, like in Magic, you can cast an item, it will sit there, and then you can pay to use it several times. Obviously, this game is fundamentally different than Magic and other games that you play card by card like that, but there's a lot of different things that could happen. My main point here is that there may be several steps added here which complicates the matter for bots to actually play. Does it make it impossible? No, I'm not crazy. I know that AI is catching on. It's become much more popular just in the last year, right? AI has been around for a while, and these bots may or may not incorporate actual AI. They may work on just databases in the background. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend I know. But my main point is that things are becoming more complicated, more tactical, and I like that. However, there's a fine line because you can become too complicated and drive some people away that were attracted to the game by the simplicity. Okay? So that's been my take on it. What do you think? This has been Bronze Dragon. I hope everyone on your side is happy and healthy, and I will see you on the flip side.